Hello, I just wanted to show you something that I'm working on, or at least letting my computer work on in the background, or one of my computers work on in the background. I'm running a reverse DNS scan of the internet, of the entire internet. I've basically always been curious about the various records out there and a way to do some data mining. So I did it with a simple bash command line, of course, and you can see it's sending out all the data it's finding at, right now. You'll notice this is actually, the IPs are actually in A, B, C, D order form, but I'm scanning them a class A at a time, basically to avoid taxing any one domain, and also to try and keep any kind of firewall from, or whatever, from detecting that I'm scanning their DNS or something, because it'll take a long time for me to get back to like .2 and .3 and so on. So I can basically do this, indefinitely without anybody really noticing. So I'm basically scanning the A's first, and then the B's, and then the C's and D's, from not from 1 to 254, but generally 1 to I think 223, and I'm skipping some of the addresses because they're actually not allocated on the internet. So just to show you what I use to do this, this is the command. You can see several nested for loops. This is the for loop for the final octet of the address, and this is for the third octet and the second octet and the first octet. You'll notice I have several ranges, basically to avoid several of the subnets that aren't actually allocated on the internet, like 127.0.0.1 and so on, those, and 10.0. Those aren't actually used on the internet as routable IPs, so it's useless to scan those. But then I do, I echo out the, actually this isn't the real command that I'm running. I did it slightly differently from what I'm doing here. Because I wanted to be able to check on the progress, like from the terminal that I was running it from, I added these T right. So I'm echoing out the IP for the purpose of recording it, and also for the purpose of displaying it. And you'll notice I use this -n here so that it doesn't actually make a new line, so I can keep the result on the same line. And so I pipe that to T. T is a program that will write out data to a file in a pipeline so that you can keep the data going through the pipeline. And basically if it's at the end of the pipeline, it'll print out the data as well as write it to a file. And then I get the result from running dig on the reverse IP in the right order, and then I echo out the result and T it again. This also, basically if it doesn't return any result, I also needed to make a new line, otherwise I'd end up with a bunch of results on the same line. So setting the result in this way allows me to say echo result, and if there's nothing returned, the echo will just give me a new line anyways, so I kind of get it for free without having to do some kind of if the data is not returning anything. So that's that, and you'll see it generates basically a file for every class A on the net, and I can go into it and I'll be able to look at the data later. It actually will generate quite a bit of data too. I might not be able to let it continue going the whole way because the amount of data. Like for instance, there's 16 million IPs in a class C on the internet. So, you know, if I have 2 to the 24th power, which is the number of number of IPs in a class A, and then I multiply that times probably about 12 characters on average or so, for displaying the actual IP, and then maybe yeah, we'll say 12. So that's already, just for holding the IPs for one class A, would be 201 megabytes, and if we were doing 285 of them, we'd already have 37 gigabytes worth of data just to hold the IP, all the IP addresses as far as their the strings go for the internet. So I'll have to stop it at some point, but it'll give me a good amount of data to go from if I want to do later scans and skip some of the networks and stuff. So that's that.